Today, I have the privilege of speaking with Lala Fabella, who is the Senior Specialist for Water Supply and Sanitation, World Bank in Manila. Lala, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with me.
Thank you, Sophie, for inviting me. And
Of course.
happy to be part of your project.
Thank you. So, I would first like to ask you, what led you to initially be interested in the water sector and spend most of your career with different water companies?
Yeah, I started siguro after teaching 1 year. My undergraduate is actually Bachelor of Science in Biology from UP Los Baños. And I was supposed to go into med school, but I didn't want that. So I went into teaching instead. And then I was able to get into a master's program, specializing on water, which is at the time going into the biological side of things, no? So the more of the
Mhm.
um, siguro microbiology, ganyan, more of wastewater management. And that's how I got interested into in water. And then when I came home after my master's degree in 97, I was very lucky because that was the time when the Manila concession started, no? Exactly. I was exactly this at the right place, right time. So I graduated, I think, August 97. I started with Manila Water, um, September or October 1997. So it was really the right timing. So I learned most of the water business from my 14 years of experience in Manila Water. And so therefore I got hooked into it because in Manila Water I got moved around into different departments. So then I worked for other companies and did some consultancy until I landed on this current job. So I guess it's a combination of opportunities that was lucky enough to have had at the time. And then yeah, also be exposed to a lot of good mentors, that made me stay in this sector, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, well, truly, I'll admit that, it's really women like you that inspire me to, follow my mom's footsteps and, people like you. I was actually
Mm.
doing a bit of reading and I got to
Mm.
know that you studied at one of my dream universities. So I'd like
Mm.
to ask, what was your biggest takeaway from your master's in environmental science from UIUC that helped you
Mm.
advance further in your career?
Um, it's how do I say it? It's a very, very good program. So they had the two programs, one for those who graduated with engineering backgrounds, so they get the Master of Science in Civil Engineering, and then for the non-engineers like us, so the Master of Science in Civil Engineering. Um, to be honest, it's 2 years of master's degree work. I was also a research assistant. So I did a lot of laboratory work. I think, to be honest, the master's, I can look back now, no, because it's been a long time. But what the master's program actually in UIUC taught me was how to really be, uh, how do you say it, to really be research focused, like really knowing your subject matter and doing all the background research work, the defense of the thesis. That was a very good experience. And also the writing, no? The technical writing that had to go into the thesis. And but it's very nice to really study in the US because your professors could be the authors of the books that you're using. That to me was really wow, no? And they would tell me like, I made an error on this page and I revised this in the next edition. That was really just spectacular. And at the time, I realized the big discrepancy in terms of information. Um, the libraries, the knowledge in the US, it's really just very much different. And I think in a sense that prepared me for the work that I'm doing now. Um, Also being able to work with people across the globe who have also finished their studies abroad. So I can, I think, relate to how people think, how people write, how people present things. I think all of those things, I think, and the combination of my experience with the private sector, I think, very, very helpful throughout my career. I went through a time where, I kind of wanted to go away from the water sector for a little bit. I did 1 year on industrial waste management, medical waste management. And I'm using all the knowledge even for that 1 year of experience. No? So that's why I'm telling young people, even if you just have a short experience, you have to just really grab the lessons, no? And I'm funny because I'm using some of the knowledge there to what I do now.
Yeah. Well, actually, for me, I also want to study abroad, and like, given your experience, it really does inspire me even more because, you hear all these kinds of different stories about people with different backgrounds, and, your story, it really does add on to my journey, I think, because I do want to go along in a similar path or within the water sector. But aside from academics, in terms of work, what has been your most impactful project at the World Bank, and what was your experience like collaborating with people across the globe?
Oh wow. Okay. So what I do in the bank is I take care of all the water projects in the Philippines, no? So that could mean water supply, sanitation, flood management, irrigation. So anything to do with water. Right now I'm involved in a Metro Manila flood management project. Um, I would say that probably what I'm working on right now in the water supply and sanitation project is probably the, how do I say it, most challenging, oh my God, most challenging project ever. Um, because Sophie, I came from the private sector, no? So
Mhm.
I've been with the bank for a little over 3 years, and there's a huge difference, no, in who we work with and our outputs. For instance, here in the bank, we work with national government, agencies. Um, and of course, I work with a lot of support from other colleagues as well, no, in other countries. And I also support projects in other countries. Um, but this particular project, I think it's so difficult because of the complexity of the water sector in the Philippines. So can you imagine, it took me personally, since I started the work, it took me more than 3 years to finally get a project request from the government, on water supply and sanitation. So challenging, yeah, very challenging, working with so many national government agencies, so many people around the globe, no? Because here you have to get your project reviewed, your documents reviewed by many people. Um, for example, no, things that we didn't consider during the private sector, like gender gaps, climate adaptation mitigation, Paris alignment. I mean, these are things that are also new to me, having come from the private sector. So I really work a lot with people from around the globe. And I think that's one of the nice parts about working in the bank. It's having all these, connections, network. So impactful. I hope the project will be impactful, but it's still in the preparation stage right now. I think it will. Takes a long time to develop a project here. So
Well,
I'm just
yeah.
starting.
Well, I do wish you luck with that project. It does seem like a pretty big endeavor considering all of
Mm.
the connections and project planning. But, you did mention that the Philippines is facing a lot of water problems. So, for you, what would you say is the biggest challenge that the Philippines is facing with regards to its water sector according to the World Bank?
I would really classify it into. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go to the World Bank lingo here, no? So the institutions, the investments, and then the incentives. So the three I's, no? So institutions, well, can you imagine having water delivered, what it takes, no, for water to be in the taps of households? So you start from getting the water source. National government plays a role in that, policy development. Then you work on the projects, you have to invest, right? You need the money to lay the pipes, to build the treatment plants, etc., etc. And then you need the right people to operate and maintain those facilities. And they need the right tariffs or incentives to do that, no? And so it is that whole process of providing the service, and I'm not even touching sanitation yet, no, requires a multi-government approach, no? And that is very challenging in the Philippines. You have national government needing to talk to local governments who are in the end responsible for the services. And then you have all those water rights, and then policies should be in place. So I think the water sector in the Philippines, but is facing a lot of challenges, but it's not the only one facing those challenges. In fact, other countries are experiencing the same challenges. I guess the uniqueness of the Philippines water sector is it's just so decentralized to the local governments. No? We talk about municipalities, cities. In some other countries, usually there is a bigger level. No, the tendency for us is we do not look beyond, or mayors, for instance, no, do not look beyond the municipalities. No, so for example, Sophie, you have Metropolitan Water Works Storage System, MWSS. It is responsible for the whole of Metro Manila plus the whole province of Rizal and parts of Cavite, right? So you have one agency, right? And then you
Yeah.
have that economies of scale. So you can spread out all the investments to all the millions of people in Metro Manila. Unlike if you go to say one municipality, say municipality of Del Carmen in Siargao, for instance, right? And you have how many households? 2,000. But you need the same kinds of investments. You need water supply, you need treated water, etc. So it that is hard in the Philippines, outside of Metro Manila, to have that more the bigger, yes, yeah, the economies of scale is very hard outside the Philippines. And that's, I think, is the hardest part because we decentralize too much
Yeah.
down to the municipality level. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we're able to get new solutions at the world conferences, you know. But like these problems naman are handled by the governments and the water service providers. So in your opinion, how can the people help out in conserving and improving the water quality in the Philippines?
First of all, demand, no? Demand for the service. I've seen a lot of areas where you don't get 24-hour supply or water is not the right quality. But then some people say, "Hey, ganyan, that's it, right? We're just satisfied, or we can't do much about it." But if people will demand for the service, um, then you would have the policymakers, right? The regulators who will be up on their toes because people are demanding. So that's one. Um, and I think also there's a need to understand for people to understand the cost, of providing the water. There's still that mindset that water should be free,
Mm.
or it's a social service, no, that people do not have to pay for it on its full cost. But that is very difficult right now, no, and it contributes to the unsustainability of water services. There will always be areas that will need subsidy. There will always be families, poor families, that will need government subsidies. So, but for the larger, I think, population, we can price water properly. I think people should understand that in order to have good services, you also need to pay for those services. And if you think about it, you're paying more for probably your prepaid or postpaid plans, no,
Mhm.
rather than water, right, on a monthly basis. I think those are things that the people will hopefully realize, especially, like for instance, we now have this shortage, right?
Mhm.
So, but you don't see policies that would say, don't wash your cars, no, with those power washers. Dapat tabo lang, ano? You don't see
Mhm.
those kinds of policies. Or in other places, in other countries, you would see that, no? There is really no regard for water use because first, it's cheap. It's not priced properly. And then and then also people in the Philippines are used to having rains. We're not in Africa where rains are not gonna happen or may not happen for a long period. No, we know that it will always rain in the Philippines. So there's that kind of darating din yan, no? So we'll get past this disaster or calamity. So I think that's how people should um I engage, no, in the sector, demand the service, and then get pay for the
Mhm.
service,
Mhm.
right? Uh, yeah, and then just really conserve, no? It is important to do that, but we're not doing that at this point. Even during this period, it's more water utilities really doing their rotational distribution rather than people saving on water use, no?
Yeah, so you really do believe that, by making people more aware of these water related issues and their consumption, that they would be more like um proactive, or like just more understanding of like the water sector in general, and that would really help. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Singapore, spectacular small country, even the young kids know, right? They know not to waste water because water is scarce in Singapore. They know how to, reuse water. Really, you won't see here. You see a lot of excesses here. Um, eh, I think the schools would be the first good source of information if kids, younger generation would be exposed to all these water issues at an early age, no? That kind of thinking. Well, you're here discussing this with me because probably, well, your mom is in the business, but at the same time, because your mom is in the business, then right? You talk
Yeah.
about it during dinner, etc., the problems in water. But other than you, I mean, I don't know if your friends would also have that appreciation of the sector, no?
Mm.
Probably not. But young kids in Singapore can talk about this
Yeah.
because they've been taught, no? It's part of their whole education.
Yeah, actually, for us in school, it's only ever lightly mentioned and it's not taken as seriously. But in Balibago, my mom's company, they've done things like internships, which I've actually joined, which is like, our
Mm.
immersion into the water sector. And, that truly helped me gain more of an appreciation for this industry. And I do agree with you that it would really help so many other people, especially people my age who are going to be the future generations and dealing with these problems.
That's true. I want to see young people in the sector really because ano yan utilities, if you look at the utilities, are mostly middle-aged people, but you need those young people to come in and provide also the innovation that the sector needs. Kulang eh. So I really value young people coming into the sector, and wherever I go, I encourage them to come in. It's a very interesting sector, to be honest. Water is everyone everyone knows how basic it is, right?
Yeah,
Needs water, so
yeah, basic, but it still needs more importance in the minds of people, I suppose.
kasi nga, it's not valued, as
Mm.
an economic resource, di ba? It's always a public good. It's always
Yeah.
considered a public good, yeah.
Mm-mm. So actually, I would like to ask you, as a woman in STEM, how can we encourage more girls to be interested in courses such as environmental sciences, biology, and other science-related courses?
Well, I think, well, for one, I think it is good what you're doing, no? Like showcasing women in the sectors who are uh, you know, in the sciences, no? I would say. So I think that's one. Knowing more of these women's stories will be helpful. Um, because to be honest, I think we make good managers, no? Kasi we manage houses, we manage homes. So it's like an extension, eh. 'Di
Mhm.
ba? So, and we can multi-skill, no?
Mhm.
So, multitask, I mean, we can multitask. So, yeah, I think those stories will help. But to be honest, this and there's even a research on it or a finding or what that women in water utilities actually are more effective
Mm.
because they're able to, how they provide, they have the sensitivity, you know, towards the need of households for water, because women are responsible for cooking, for washing clothes, for washing the dishes normally, right? So if there's
Mm.
no water, women are responsible to have water because they cannot cook, they cannot wash clothes or the dishes. So you will always see when you're going around, wherever, like, just went around in some poor communities, you know, you see women washing clothes,
Mm.
right? You see women, doing the laundry, cooking, etc. And so because of that, women are more sensitive to the needs of the household.
Yeah.
And that's why they are more, how to say, if there's empathy. And
Mhm.
so therefore women in utilities actually are more effective leaders when it comes to water service utilities. There's a study on that.
Actually, yeah, I would love to research on that. And
Mhm.
actually, you said something similar to our last speaker, who was an engineer at Balebago. She also said, women have like such responsibility when it comes to this. And I'm starting to see the pattern, and I see it through my
It's
mom
true.
and through you, through Miss. And this whole interview has truly inspired me, and I will take these lessons and insights with me as I go along. And I hope, the viewers also take away something valuable from this. And actually, that's all for my questions.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. It
Yeah.
was a nice discussion, and good luck, Sophie, no, in your future endeavors. I think it's a good sector, to be honest, for
Mhm.
women. There's really a lot of work out there that I think women can do better, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but no, no. To be honest, yeah, I think women make
Mhm.
good the utility managers, for instance. Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree.
Okay, good luck. Good luck. What grade are you in that?
Grade 10.
Grade 10. Oh, you're
Yeah.
very young, no? See.
Yes. Yeah.
See.
Well, I mean, I'm
All
also.
right.
Thank you.
I hope that was helpful. Good luck, Sophie.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.